Hello students, welcome to the video tutorial of Informatics Practices for class 11th. Today we'll be discussing the first part of the chapter, list manipulation. So let's see what's the introduction for the list, that how we are going to use the list and why we are using the list. Okay. So first of all, the introduction says that the Python lists are the containers that are used to store a list of values of any type. Okay. So basically these lists are special types of containers which are going to store list values. Okay. And the list values can be of any data type. Okay. Unlike other variables, Python lists are mutable, and mutable concept you are already knowing that mutable are those elements which can change their place in value. Okay, so Python will not create a fresh list when you make changes to an element of a list. Otherwise, what it will happen now, if there is a change in the value of the Python list, so it will just change the values in the place of the list. Okay, so that's why it is the mutable data type. Okay, now let's move forward and talk about how we'll create and access the list. So the first thing is that this way of creating the list, that is the empty list. Okay. Whenever you are going to type this in the ideally you will have a empty list. Okay. How we are knowing this is a list? Because this brackets, okay, the square brackets symbolize the list. Okay. Now here the list is empty, but in this case we are having three elements in the list, that is 1, 2 and 3. In this you can see that different data types are being used. Here one is a data type of integer, this is a float type, okay, this is also decimal or float type, and this is also an integer. So here you can say that the list can contain multiple data types as well. Okay, so it can contain the strings as well. So a, b, c are strings here because it is enclosed in the semicolon, sorry, the single quotes. So whenever you are using anything in the quotes, it is a string. Okay, so with these examples, you can say that the list can be created with a certain set of elements directly by enclosing them in the square brackets. Now also you can say that the data types can be of different data types. Also, if you want to change the particular elements of the list, you can change it because the list are the mutable sequences. Okay. Now the next part is how we are going to create the list. Okay, that I have already told you that you can directly use the square brackets. So here also you can see we have given a name to this list. L is equals to this in square bracket. So what it is going to do, it is going to create a empty list. Okay, but if we are going to write like this, L is equals to, and then in square bracket we are giving certain set of values. So these values will become the elements of the list, and this list will be symbolized as L. Okay, here you can give any name. It is not necessary that you are to give capital L only. Okay, you could have used anything here. You can write A is equals to this, B is equals to this. Okay, so whatever the identifier name you want, you can do it, but the square bracket should be there to create a list. Okay, now see, some examples are there here. Empty list. So here you can see the L equal to list, and this also list is symbolizing the function. Now see, if you want to create a list without using the square brackets, you need to use this list function. Okay, so this list function with the parenthesis. So if you want this to use the without using particular square bracket, so you can use this list function with this parenthesis. Okay, so this is the way also for creating the empty list. Here we are having the long list. Now if you want a list to have certain set of values, means 50 values or 100 values, so you can't include them in single line. So what you can do, you can use a comma here at the end of the line, and then you can specify the other elements in the next line. Okay, and then you can keep on doing this till the list of the elements are not completed, and finally you will enclose it in a single square brackets. Okay, so here you can see the square brackets have been opened in the beginning, and it has been closed at the end when the all elements are over. Okay, so this is the way of providing the long list. Okay, now let's see about the nested list. So I've told you that any type of data can be means inserted in a particular list. So here list is also data type. So what if you want to add a list inside a list? Okay, so when you are going to call list inside the list, it will be treated as a nested list. Okay, so here you can see L1 is equals to 3 comma 4 comma 5 comma 6 comma 7. So here 3 and 4 are the individual elements, 7 is also an individual element, but 5 6 is not an individual element. Okay, it will be taken as a single unit. Okay, 5 6 is a single element, not 5 and 6 are the different elements. Okay, this 5 6 are the single unit element. Okay, so what if you want to access the elements? Okay, so for accessing the elements, you need to give the index of the elements. Okay, so here the first element is stored on the 0 index, then second is stored on the 1 index, then this whole 5 by 5 comma 6 will be stored at second 2 index, and then 3. So 0 1 2 and 3, these are the indexes. Okay, So if you are going to talk about these things, so if you want to access those elements, how you will write? See, if you are going to write L12. L12 will be 0, 1, 2. So on second element, you are having 5, comma 6. So L12 is going to return 5, comma 6. Okay. But if you want to specify single 5 from here, so what you need to do, you need to give another square brackets, and inside this list, this 5 is stored on the 0 index and this 6 is stored on the 1 index. Okay, so first you will give the index of the outer list, that is L12. So you will reach here 5, comma 6, and if you want to access this 5, so you will have to give the index of 5. So the index of 5 is 0. Got it? Because this 5, comma 6 is having the list element index as 2, but this 5 is having the index as 0 for this list, this inside list. Okay, that's why we have given two elements here, L1 to 0. So this will access this 5 element. If you want to access this 6, so you will write L1 2 and then in bracket 1. Okay, so it will give you the value 6. Got it, everyone? Now let's move forward with creating lists from the existing sequences. Now if you are having certain set of sequences already and you want to create the list from it, how you can create it? Now see, if you are having a list here, okay, if you want to create a list, okay, L1, now you are using the list function here, and in parentheses you are passing the value. So if you are going to pass this hello string inside this list, what it will do, it will take out the individual separate characters from this string and it will create a list from it. Okay, so here hello is having these type of single elements, that is H and E, then L and then L and then again O. Okay, so this L1 is going to create a list from these elements, that is H, comma E, comma L, comma L, comma O. So this was already a sequence. We know that a string is also a sequence. So from this string sequence, it has created a list. Okay, this tuple is also a sequence. How you are knowing this is a tuple? Because you are seeing this small brackets. Okay, this one, this parenthesis bracket. So when you are going to refer these brackets, then you are talking about the tuple. This is already a sequence here. Now if you want to create a list from this sequence, what you have to do, only you will write the name of the element. It is L2 is equals to list, and in bracket you will pass this tuple. So this tuple is name is T. So directly it will create a list out of this tuples. Now you can see the values are still the same, but the square brackets have been inserted here. Okay, so this square bracket is symboling that it is a list now. Earlier it was a parenthesis bracket, so it was a tuple. Now it has changed to a list. Okay, so in this way you can create a list from the existing sequences. So first case was a string, then we have got a tuple case, and with both of these sequences we have created the list. Okay, now see, here it is mentioned that L1 is equals to list input enter list of elements, and now if you have entered certain set of elements, see, if you are going to pass it inside this list, okay, so obviously it is going to ask for the numbers, and if you have entered the elements like this even without the commas, it will understand that you are giving these individual elements as a element of the list. So it will separate 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Okay, so this way also you can give the input, because here what you are doing, you are giving an input as a string. So obviously if you are going to give input as a string, so it will convert each of the elements in the single characters and it will create a list from it. Okay, now see, if you are going to use the eval function, eval input enter list to be added print list. So this also, eval also tries to identify by looking at the given expression. Now see, if you are going to enter the list from here 67, 78, 46, and 23, so it will just create the list accordingly. Okay, and now here you are having the elements of the list. Okay, now this eval function, what it does basically, it takes the string input and access the values according to the given string. Now if you want to use this eval function, now let's see, suppose here we are having this 5 plus 8. Okay, so this 5 plus 8 is actually a string given here. How we are knowing this? Because it is in the single quotes. But if you are using this eval function, it is able to convert the strings according to the expression and it will give you the result. Okay, so here 5 plus 8 is 13. Okay, similarly if you pass 3 into 10, so it will recognize it as the strings and then it will change it into the particular expression and it will give you the result. Okay, that's why we are using eval function. So it is actually a smart function which is able to understand that which type of value is being used for which particular task. Also you know that if you want to see the data type of the elements which you have used, so you can use that also. Here you can see var1 is equals to eval input enter value. then print var1 comma type var1. So suppose if you have used this program code, so first it will ask you for the input line, that is the enter value. So accordingly you have entered a value in the form of the list. So it will show you that the values which you have inserted is actually this 1 2 3, and the type of the value is the list type. Okay, how it is understood this? Because of the square brackets. Similarly, if you would have passed the values like this 2 4 6 8 in this parenthesis, so it will write the values and then it will give you the tuple type. Why? Because it is a parenthesis bracket. Okay, so this is the recognition of the tuple. Okay, now let's move forward. And I've talked about the string already, that with the strings what you are doing, you are creating the sequences. Okay, 0 1 2 3 4, like that. Okay, but if you are talking about the list also in this similar way, it is having the forward indexing as well as the backward indexing. So you can give the strings indexing like this: -1, then -2, then -3, then -4, then -5. Actually all these elements are having the similar indexes only. Okay, if you're talking about the indexes from here, 0 1 2 3 4 is the elements index from here. And if you're talking from this side also you are giving the indexes from the minus side. Okay, this one is -1, this is -2, this is -3, this is -4, and this is -5. Okay, so in both of the cases we are accessing the similar elements. So if you are going to write list 1 in bracket 0, so it will go in this list 1 and it will find out the value at the index 0. So a is there present, so the output is a. Also if you are going to write list 1 in bracket -5, then also it will return a only. Why? Because it is also storing the single a element. Okay, similarly if you are going to write list 1 comma 4, sorry, comma not, you are going to use square brackets. So list 1 4, so you are going to get u. And also if you are writing list 1 in bracket -1, then also you are going to get this u only. Okay, so this is the way for creating the indexes in the list. Okay, it is also similar with the strings, because the strings are also having the similar indexing, at the forward and backward indexing. Okay, now if you are moving for the functions which can be used in this, the first is the length function. So this length function is going to return the length of the list, that how many elements are present in that particular list. It can be 5, it can be 6, it can be 10. Okay, so how many numbers of items will be there in the list, that will be returned from this length function. Okay, next thing is the indexing and slicing. So if you are giving this column here to get the values, you are going to get the particular subset of that list. Okay, and this is the membership operator. In and not in will provide you whether this element is present in the list or not. If you are going to write L1, sorry, if one in list 1. Okay, so 1 in L1 will refer to the searching of that particular one element inside that list 1. If 1 is going to be present there, so it will return true, but if it is not present there, it will return false. Similarly, not in can be used like this: if 1 is present in L1, so if you are going to write 1 not in L1, so it will return false because it is present there. But if you are going to write any element which is not present there, suppose 5 is not there in the list, so if you are going to write 5 not in L1, it is going to return true, because not in is the just opposite of in. Getting it? Also we are having this concatenation and replication operators. This concatenation are going to add the strings, and this star operator is being used for the replication. Okay, the number of times you want to replicate it, or how many times you want the duplicate copies of. Okay, now see, you can see here also it has given the example vowels is equals to a e i o u. So these list elements are there. Then vowel 0 you are writing, then vowel 0 will return a. Vowels 4 you are writing, then 0 1 2 3 4, so the vowels 4 is having the elements as u. Similarly vowels 1 -1 will have u, and vowels -5 will have -1 -2 -3 -4 -5, that is a. Okay, so you are having this. Got it everyone? So let's move forward and go for the any index which is outside this. Suppose here you are saying that 0 1 2 3 4, 4 is the last index. If you are going to write vowels in bracket 5, so vowels is the name of the list, and in bracket you are providing the index 5. So there is no 5 index in this list, because the list index is going to be over at 4. So if you are going to move to the index 5, so it will not return any value for it. It will write the error here, that index error, list index out of range. Okay, now if you are going to traverse a list, okay, what is meant by traversing a list? That means to interpret all the elements of the list one by one. Okay, now for example here you can see that a list we have passed here, that is having the elements like this: p comma y comma t comma h comma o comma n. So if you are going to write for a in L, so I've already told you in operator is being used for checking whether the element is present in it or not. Okay, So here you can see that A, that is first A will go for this P. Okay. So first P will be evaluated and it will check whether P is there in L or not. So P is present in L. So it is condition is true. So it will print that element, that is P. Then similarly it will move to the next index, that is Y. So Y is in L. So it will print the Y. Then similarly T, then H, then O. And the last element is the length of that. Okay. So automatically it will go to the last element of this list, and after that this loop will be over. So it will not go forward of that. Okay, so the last element will go n, and the n will be true here, so it will be printing that n at the last. Okay, so in this way it is going to print. Also I've told you that whenever it is printing one line, then the cursor automatically transfer to the next line. So that's why you are having different outputs in the different lines. Okay, if you want these elements to be written in the single line, so only you have to use here and argument, that is end equal to space. So if you are going to use here at the print statement, so it will print the elements in the same line. Okay, now let's move forward. Now here we are having a program which is symbolizing how you can write this. See, this program is given program to print elements of a list QWERTY in separate lines along with the elements both indexes, that is positive and negative. So if you are going to write this, see what is going to happen. Here we are having this L is equals to QWERTY. So this we have created a list. Then in length we have stored the length of this list. So the number of elements inside this list will be stored in this length. So here the length will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. So the length will store 6. So for A in range length, that is for A in range 6, so it will go from 0 to 5, because whatever the last element will be there, it is moving just before that single index. Okay, so if it is going from 0 to 6, so you are counting from 0 to 5. Okay, so it will mention it at indexes 0. Why? Because A will start from 0. So for at indexes 0 and 0 minus 6, length is storing 6. So 0 minus 6 is equals to minus 6. And element is LA, that is L0. So L0 is having the element Q. So if the first output will be at indexes 0 and minus 6 element colon Q. But next element A will go for 1. Okay, because A is in range of 0 to 6, so it will go from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the next element will be 1. So the at index is 1 and 1 minus 6, that is minus 5. The element is L1, so L1 is storing W. In the similar way all the elements have been listed here. Okay, so this was the program which was being asked for creating the list from these elements and also print their positive and negative indexes. So if you want the positive index, you directly write the variable name, that is A. But if you want the negative index, you will subtract it from the length and you will get the negative index of that element. Okay. So in this way, you can print a program for the both positive and negative indexes. Okay. The next thing is the comparison among the lists. So if two lists are given and if it is being asked that which list is greater than which value, and you have to return true or false, so you can do it easily here. You can see here that L1 comma L2 is equals to 1 comma 2 comma 3 comma 1 comma 2 comma 3. So at this time L1 will be given this list and L2 will be given this list. Okay, so if you are going to have third list also like this 1 comma 2 comma 3, so here you are knowing that this is the listed list. So if you are going to compare L1 and L2, okay, this equal to operator is used for comparison. Okay, so if you are going to compare it with the equal to symbol, so L1 and L2 are having a similar list. Okay, all the elements are same, so it will return true. Okay, it will compare this one with one, so 1 is equal to 1, it is true. 2 is equal to true, again it is true, and then 3 equal to 3, again it is true. So after comparing all the elements, it is getting the same element, so this list L equal to L2 is returning true. But if you return this L1 equal to L3, so this L1 will be compared with 1 first, 1 comma 1, and then this comparison will move to 2. Okay, and then 2 is going to compare with 2 comma 3. So that is not a comparison. Okay, because you cannot compare a single integer type element with the list element, so it will give you the result as false because it is not equal. Okay, which is greater, which is not greater, we cannot do that, but we can just give you this answer that L1 is not equal to L3. So L1 equal to L3 is going to return false. Okay, now see here, if you have compared L1 and L2, okay, with this greater than or symbol sign. Okay, so here also L1 and L2 are having the similar elements, so no element can be greater than this because the list 1 and list 2 are exactly equal. So this L1 less than L2 is going to return false. Similarly, L1 is less than L3. I've told you just now that if you're going to compare list type elements with the integer elements, so in this way 1 and 1 was comparable, but 2 and 2 comma 3 are not comparable because 2 is an integer type and 2 comma 3 is a list type. Okay, so there is no comparison between them, so that's why it is going to provide a error here that not supported between instances of int and list. You cannot compare the integer and list here. Okay, similarly you can compare different types of strings. Okay, here also you can see an example here. If you are going to compare 1289 with 9 comma 1, so the first element will be compared with the first element. So first 1 is less than 9, so this condition is true from the beginning itself, so you will write it is true. But if you go for this list, so 1 will be compared with 1, so it is not a comparison till now. Here we cannot give a result from here, so we'll go for the next elements 2 and 2, then still it is equal. But when we'll go to the next element, that is 8 and 9, so 9 is greater than 8, so this list will become greater than this, so that's why this condition is true. Similarly, if you compare here, 1 and 1 will be compared with the same, 2 and 2 is still same, and 8 and 9, so 9 is greater than 8, so obviously it is going to return true here. And in this case, if you are going to compare, see, 1 will be compared with 1, it is equal, 2 is greater than 2, it is again not condition. Then if you are going to compare 8 and 8, again it is equal, but last element, that is 9 and 4, so 4 is less than 9, so this condition cannot be true. So this is going to give this string as a larger string, but the condition is given that this is true, so it will return false, because actually this list was greater than this list, so the comparison is giving you the false result. Okay, now similar way you can compare different types of lists here. Okay, now let's move on to the list operators. The first operator is the concatenation operator. So if you are having list 1 here, 1 comma 3 comma 5, and list 2 as 6 7 8, if you are going to add these elements, list 1 plus list 2, it will return a single list here. Okay, so here you can see 1 3 5 are already there in the first list, and then 6 7 8 also we have added in this list, so we are having a complete list here, 1 3 5 6 7 8. Okay, now if you want to do this thing, suppose list 1 plus equal to abc, so this is equivalent to list 1 is equals to list 1 plus abc. So list 1 is having the elements as 10 12 14, and if you have added elements abc in that, so it will store these elements also in that. So 10 comma 12 comma 14 comma a comma b comma c, this will be the final list. Okay, now let's move on to the replication of the list. So if you are going to write list 1 into 3, so it will, what it will do, it will replicate that list. Okay, so if the elements are given as 1 3 5, and if you are going to multiply it with 3, so it will repeat the elements of the list. So 1 3 5 one time, then 1 3 5 again second time, and then 1 3 5 again third time. So this is the replication of the list. Okay, now if you are moving to the slicing of the list, so be careful with this here. Now see students, if we want the list to have slicing, so how we'll do the slicing here? See, you can see here, we will give the start step, okay, then the stopping step, and then we'll give the steps also, that how much times we need to skip the values. Okay, already I have told you this in the looping function, that how you are using it in the looping function. So similarly it will use in this list also. So here you can see that sequence, suppose this list is there. Okay, and this in lst list we are having these elements. So if you are going to write seq is equals to list 3 colon minus 3, so what it will do, it will take the elements from the third index and it will go to the minus 3 index, and whatever the sequence will be there, it will be returned. Okay, so here you can see that the index is starting from 0 1 2 3, so the 3 index is 20, and then minus 3 index is returning here, that is 30, so it has to be stopped just before us that particular index, so this will return this 20 22 and 24. You're getting this? See, you are starting the list from the third index. So this is 20 at the third index, and it has to stop just before this index. So just before this index is minus 3 is less than minus 2 actually. So it will be stopped at minus 2. So you have to go from 3 index and you have to stop at minus 4 actually. One step behind this now. So minus 3 से पीछे आया आपका minus 4. Okay. So you'll have this one step behind this. Okay. So minus 3 से पीछे minus 4. So here you can see the list is starting from 3, then 4, then 5. Okay, and if you are seeing the negative indexing, it will stop from minus 4. So the elements is 20, 22, and 24. Okay, I think you must have understood this. Now suppose if you are writing seq1, this seq1 is going to return the elements from this seq list. So this inside seq list, this is the 0 index, this is the 1 index, and this is the 2 index. So if you are writing SEQ1, so it will return the element of 22. But here actually we are giving SEQ1 equal to 28. So we are trying to change that value at that place. Okay. So earlier this SEQ1 was having 22 element. So that number, the value was 22. So if you are giving SEQ1 equal to 28, so this SEQ1 will have this second element as the 28. So the output will be 20, comma 28, comma 24. Okay. So I think it is enough for today's students. We'll go for the next video lecture in the next part. Till then, take care, students. Thank you.